Hello John, this is James Finnerty here. This is my submission for the screencast for CA2. I'm just going to start off by demonstrating the code that we've written. This is the combined effort, I suppose, of the group. We, at the start of the thing, we would have tried to maybe divvy it up into, those two obvious parts sticking out was the write and the read. So myself and Mairead went off to look at the right side of the thing, and Miles and Elvira would have looked at the read. In the heat of the hunt, there was plenty of toing and froing between the group, as you know, trying to get it all working, and the SQL and statement. You know, there was good bit of overlap, so we would all have kind of touched on near enough every issue involved. So I'm just going to go through the code, and we've more or less just modified or extended our version from version 1. We have a main class, which is obviously our second database, and a patient class, which is our patient class. It has all the attributes and whatever be in it, all the getters and setters, and the print method down at the bottom, which is used for the array list. So we've really just extended our list, our options. You can see here it's now become 1 to 9 or 1 to 10 actually since yesterday. Might just have to clean that up a little bit. So we're pulling in a couple of different new methods here. Sorry, going too far. 7's been counted. It's really just 8, so it's write data to the XML and read patient. Elvira has done 2 versions of this, but probably will tidy this up. It's just really to get it working. We were still working on this yesterday evening. I didn't get it going until about 12:30 last night when I implemented some of the stuff that was in your email. So this reads to the patient, or sorry, reads patient XML to the database, and this one will read staff to the back to the database. So if I come down into the main body of the work, all these methods are more or less what we had. We didn't feel we had time to make too many adjustments. Okay, so the write data to array list, yeah, that's the original version that I did, and I think I sent it to you to see what it was about. Was my original thinking was that if I could, as I did in CA1, search a patient table and pull information from the patient table and display it to the console system out of print. Thinking was that if I could send it to the console, that I could send it somewhere else. So I went off and worked on trying to send it to a file, and in this case an XML file, and that worked, and it outputted the data. So that was the original version, but the last week or so it's been working really to get the array list version going. So what we have here is our method call or statement at the top, signature I think is the proper name for it. So this method will return a list. Okay, so that in my understanding is the same as returning an integer or a string or whatever. This returns a list, i.e. the array list of patients. So we're bringing in a connection, we're bringing in an array list which we've built at the top, somewhere up here. So that's our array list of the type patient, which is coming from the patient class. Patient list is the name, okay, of the array list itself. So we'll go back down here, probably get lost. Search for it, that's not it. Here we go. So if I come down into the method itself, there's still a lot of commented stuff in it, because as I said, this has grown exponentially over the 2-week period, and there's a fear of taking stuff out in case I might need it again, because I've been caught like that before. So it basically started off from the idea of just trying to, if I can find it in all this, select appointment, you know, from one patient's table, just a simple select all from patient's table. I'd done different versions where maybe I'd select certain fields from the patient table, then it evolved into a join on the patient's table and the appointments table and select them back from that, and it eventually ended up morphing into this fairly substantial SQL statement, which we all had to work on. We were all, Elvira is probably the best on the SQL of the 4 of us, but we were all Mairead, because I made a request on the Friday that we should all look at this 3-table join, because that was the way it was going. And there were several different attempts and different, you know, this doesn't even reflect half of it, of trying to get this going. So eventually this is what came, and I think the girls worked on getting it working in the SQL first and then sending it to me so that I could incorporate it into the Java. So we come in here, so this basically queries our database table, and then when there is a result, down here we create a new instance of the class patient, which is person 1, and for person 1 we set first name, surname, email owing to what we have found in the database. So get string 1 will return the name, column 2 will return the surname, and so on and so forth through the rest. And at the end of all this, we have a patient list, which is our array list, and we add the person 1 that we've just created to it. So that goes to the array list. This is all from iteration 1, I suppose, where I was trying to do it all in one method. So into the second method, which is the write data to XML. Again, we're bringing in the list that we've just created, which we've returned from the other method. This is the file in NetBeans where I want to write the XML out to. And it goes through all of this. It starts up here with, this is the patient's root. It comes into the for each loop, which was a new thing to me. I'd come across it once before, having a massively brilliant understanding of it, but I know that's the patient type person, which I assume it can't be person 1 because that's the individual. It has to be a general person. The patient list then is the array list itself. So it writes the patient element, and then we come into this, which is the write start element, which is P first. This is for every element in the document. We go write the character, so that goes to the array list. It gets first name and it writes it into the XML, and then it ends the element. So we do this a number of times, obviously for phone, email, appointment. Okay, so here this is for every patient who have an appointment, date, diagnosis, and the same. We end the appointments here. We started and we ended it inside the patient itself. Do the same for healthcare professionals. As you can see here, there's stuff that we're not using. This was part of the DTD process where there was a bit of a panic yesterday that everyone had to use empty tags to try and get the XML to work, and then we decided no, there was something wrong with the DTT, so that was the to and fro in that process. So there's lots of this I've commented on just in case I had to go back, because I actually had to change this XML output 3 times yesterday because I changed it to do the empty tags. Then I was told that wasn't what we wanted, so I went back to what I had and had to change the order as well. So I had maybe patients information from the patient's table first, and then I had maybe healthcare professional second and appointments third, whereas the order had to follow the DTD. We weren't sure of that until we got into the nitty-gritty of it. So eventually you come down here, this ends the patient element, which we started outside the for each loop, and we ended outside the for each loop. And this here, that ends the patient, that's inside the for each loop. This ends the root patient, which is outside the for each loop. And that finishes the method. Into the read patient XML, this is Elvira's territory, but I had to spend a good bit of time in the last 3 or 4 days trying to get it to work on my computer, which I couldn't achieve. I got bits and pieces of it working, and I got a kind of hacked version of it working, but it wasn't exactly what we wanted. And that was the email that Elvira sent to you yesterday, looking to see how we could read stuff from maybe a file and then go to another file and do the same again and get what we want back. We were having no joy with that. So this is the bit that I have put into it for myself, which is different, I think, from what Elvira ended up with last night. I worked on what you said about putting default values in before you go into the switch. So you set string, or set first name, last name, phone number, date of birth, email, etc. You set them to the default. Then you take the R user and you set string, so you set that to, at the moment it's a default, and then when you go into the switch itself, if it finds, so you go in here to P first name, so it goes into the XML, sees what it can find. This is to do with the array list, but this here sets, if it finds something, it sets it to, say if it finds James, it's going to set it to James. If it finds nothing, it sets it, it keeps it at default. So that's how we came over that problem. So Elvira has another method then to read into the patients, read into the staff, which I've done the exact same thing here again, and all seems to be working quite well. So I'm just going to run it now. What I attempted to do in class today, and of course it didn't want to work. I kind of later found out that it was actually putting stuff in. It's just I had the view that I had in PHP, my admin was only for maybe 15 entries or something like that, and the entries that went in were over the 15, and that's why I couldn't see it on screen. So if I press number 8, it should output the XML. So that should go up here, and it does something. I'm going into it anyway, and I format it so you can see our XML output. So we have the patient details. This is what we can share. And these are appointment details. He has healthcare professional details, and then does this for another, I think it's 2 patients, maybe, yeah, 2 patients, maybe 3. So that's our XML output. So if I want to read, I go to 9, and I have to go and find. Okay, so I have to go and find where I had stored the path, which is, this is the share XML. This is the document that Mark would have sent us, Mark's group would have sent us. So I had to find that, get the path to it where I put it into NetBeans. So this is hopefully is the path. I've had a bit of trouble with this because you have different paths, and I leave out a, misspell a word here or something, and it can cause me trouble. So I've had a bit of grief with this. So if I come down, just make it so going the wrong way. Okay, so if I put in the path here and then hit enter, the hope is that when I go to my databases and refresh, the hope is that this will have added patients, and from them they send in 3. Emma McCabe is 1, and here they are. So we have Emma McGuinness, James Kieran, and Jessica McCabe. So I've actually been a bit foolish there. I should have showed the state of the database before I did it. So I'm going to go and get the path again. No, that's not the right one. I think that's the right one. So if I go up to the database, the last one was 485, which indicates there's been a bit of activity. And when I go back, I should see from 186, which I do. So the last one was 185, so we've got Emma McGuinness, James Kieran, and then Jessica McCabe. I know we have duplicate entries, but it just shows that it can actually do it, which we were quite happy about. So they don't share an email with us, and they don't share a phone, so they're the default values, but they do share a date of birth, so we get the date of birth from them. And we can do the same for our XML documents. That's how we got Mick, Quinn, Elvira and James in. These were already in the database, I believe, and we got Sean Connery and Emma McGuinness from Anthony's group. Okay, and just to finish off, if we press 2, that will search the table. That's as before. So if I put in McCabe, which is one of the baby's names, I believe, that should show me the relevant details. So first name is Jessica, surname is obviously McCabe because I'm searching. Email they don't share, phone number they don't share, but the date of birth is 4th to the 4th. 4th to the 4th. So that's pretty much the functionality of our database, or our code. You will notice probably very early when you look at the code that we have an array list sticking out like sore thumb up here at the top. This is more for convenience more than anything else. When I was doing the array, I wanted to see that I was actually putting something in, so I was following on from your idea. I wanted to see it, that it was actually doing something. So whenever we run the program at the moment, it will output the array list of people in the database. So you've Elvie, Lozano, Wright, Brendan's, the physio, and different information depending on how many people is in it at that particular time. That's for the array list. So that's a bit of a untidy solution. We'll be looking, and when we're tidying all this up, to put that in the array list method, right to array list method, so that's not sticking out there. It's just a solution that worked for us at the time. Okay, so just in quick time, by 20 seconds, I go through the patient class. So you said you wanted to see the print that is used in the array list I've just been talking about. We've lots of setters and getters, and we have a default constructor, and we have our initialization, or declaring the